Simpson.
Mr Speaker, buried in amongst that bluff and bluster and hot air from the Labor member that has just resumed her seat was an endorsement of this bill, and I am delighted that the Labor opposition has seen fit to support this legislation. And it's important legislation because today, this afternoon, sir, we've had Bill English deliver his 8th budget. It was pragmatic, it was sensible, it was good for New Zealand. And this too, this transitional bill that we will put through the House under urgency is a phased, pragmatic, practical approach that is so much the hallmark of this administration. I listened very carefully, sir, to the introductory speech, the first reading speech made by the Minister, the Honourable Paula Bennett, and I thought that she made excellent points about how it came to be that this transitional arrangement was put into effect in the first place. And it's worth, sir, just reminding the House about why it is that we are here today changing out of this situation that was put in place in 2009. Back then, sir, of course, we were right in the very deepest, darkest phase of the global financial crisis. And it was a troublesome and very concerning period of time, not only for New Zealanders and New Zealand business people, but indeed for the whole global economy. And at that stage, sir, this government took some very pragmatic and sensible steps, many of which we have seen the rewards reaped today in the reading of Bill English's 8th budget. And this was one of them. This was a measure that was taken back in 2009 to ensure that businesses that were struggling, to ensure that they kept people employed, that they kept the economy ticking over, that it kept going, were not put in an unreasonable position of being pressured so that jobs would be at risk. And so the time now has come, sir, that the economy is ticking along very nicely. We've heard from the Minister of Finance, Bill English, today that we've got growth at 2.8% and projected to be 3% for the next several years. And that's a time when this transitional phase can properly and sensibly be removed. Because, sir, this is a government that takes its obligation to our environment and our obligation to world affairs in terms of commitments that we make to climate change very seriously. And we also take very seriously our role in ensuring that we get the balance right between ensuring that our business people can create jobs and can build an environment where people can prosper, grow and thrive. So it's about being pragmatic, about being balanced, and about an approach that's right for the times. From tourism through to agriculture and horticulture, our natural environment actually supports almost all of the things that we do. And so protecting the environment and protecting jobs is part of what this government sees as very important. And so I want to just go back for a minute or two and reiterate what the primary purpose of the original creation of this situation was. The current 50% unit cost was established to ensure that businesses weren't going to be unduly put at risk. And so now, from the 1st of January next year, the current 50% unit cost will increase to 67%, and then to 83% from 1st January 2018, and then all sectors in the ETS will pay the full cost from 1st January 2019. And so it's fair to note that the government had options in terms of how it would approach this transition. And many of those options were considered before this piece of legislation was brought to the House. And so one of the options was just to simply go from the current situation back to a full cost situation in one big leap. But we are, as I've said, sir, a pragmatic, sensible government, and we think this phased approach will be good for business, good for the economy, and good for our environment. The Minister made, I thought, a very good point in noting that currently the unit cost for units is at $14.48. Now, the expectation is that the government's books will benefit by about $356 million over the next 4 years, and that sir, is a figure that's based on a unit price of just $12. And the expectation, sir, is that that current price of $14.48 will probably get to somewhere in the region of $16 to $18. And it's at that point, sir, that there will be absolutely terrific incentive for our foresters to start planting trees, to start creating forests and growing trees. And that's really what all this is about. It's about making sure that we get the balance right, that the pragmatic approach is right, that it's sensible and it's practical. Last year, sir, the government undertook a submission process, a series of meetings and consultations were held around the country, and 75% of the submitters that were involved in that consultation process said that the 1-for-2 model should be ditched. And those meetings, sir, of course, included iwi, business people and the full gambit and range of New Zealand enterprises. Most of them said that the price was too low, and part of the reason that we want to change this is because the current price is too low. And the minister's made it very clear right from the first day of her appointment to her new ministerial role that this phase-out would occur. And it was really just a question, sir, of how the phase-out would occur, what the nature of it would be, what the structure of it would be, and now in this legislation we have that ready to go. So, sir, this is a good piece of legislation. I'm looking forward to listening to other speakers. I'll be interested to see how other parties in the House decide to jump on this legislation, to see where they want to put their support or not, and I'll be listening carefully to other speeches, sir. At first reading, I commend the bill to the House.